time now for us to get into the news review, and my guests joining me this morning, Nanaya Sapong, political assistant to the Alan Kwadwo Trematin campaign, and Afe Omone, former president of the Ghana Journalists Association. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
You're looking lovely in your blue outfit. I suspect it may be from our usual...
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then some beautiful batakari. You are living well, oh. You are living well.
Grace and mercy.
Grace and mercy, oh.
Follow us.
Well, I might as well give shouts to Mudasiru of Siru Africa, who also does fantastic work with my outfits every Friday. Siru, thank you so much. If you'd like to, as my director will say, Yakama, he told me that this morning. My wonderful director, Yao For Sin, yes. And if you'd like to get outfits such as this, you might as well reach out to Mudasiru on 0557 029 138. 0557 029 138. On social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at SIRU-Africa. SIRU-Africa. Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. But from the fashion houses or from fashion-related matters, let's come into the studio. Quick thoughts on burning issues on your chest, on your mind, on your hearts. I'll start with you, Afe Omone.
Let me join the chorus of condemnations against the absolutely heinous and utterly hideous attacks on Erastus Redonko, and urge the authorities to pursue the matter with urgent promptitude. It is clear, and the point can hardly be articulated, that journalism is risk-prone and not cash-rich profession, unlike politics, where my brother plies his trade. But our proneness to risk does not give anybody any license to attack our men and women. We are confronted with a situation as a nation where organized labor is so disorganized to the extent that it cannot lend its fullest weight to the fight against Galamsey. UTAG has also dropped its tag as the Lone Ranger on the labor front as far as Galamsey is concerned. So the mantle falls squarely on the media to pursue this fight with all ferocity and tenacity. But the risk factors are such that if you don't have the fearless streak, like our colleagues in multimedia, and Ben is a living example, you will chicken out. So we are urging again the authorities to go all out to deal surgically with the perpetrators of the attacks against Erastus and his team, to send a signal that ours is a country governed by the rule of law. And in such a country, anyone who willfully finds himself on the wrong side of the law should be made to taste the biting edge of the law. So this is my take.
Thank you for your take this morning. I'll come to you, Nanaya. And the point being that, for me, one of my greatest disappointments, apart from what I will say, the little that the police has done on this matter, right? These, let's face it, when they said they were taking them to a certain village and didn't, and went somewhere into the bush, anything could have happened.
Anything could have happened.
These were armed men with guns, pump-action guns that even our security forces don't wield. Anything
could have happened.
And when I say anything, I'm sure you
They
understand.
had a brush with death.
what I
Well,
mean.
let's use the words. They could
They
have
had
been
a
killed.
brush,
They could have been
like
killed,
you said,
yeah, they had a brush
with death.
Yeah.
And looking at these Galamsey pits and all of that, people could
They
have
could
been
have
dumped
just
somewhere
dumped them in and that would have been it.
and gone forever.
Yeah.
Mekwabo, and that would have been the end. Where did they go and all of this? And the impunity, my point. One person in there, and you see, it talks about how some people feel they are primus inter pares, above everybody else. First among equals. You bet me to a party in a washoe. I wish that gentleman hadn't said that. Though we know certain things. I wish he hadn't said it. But for him to have said it, I don't know. Correct me.
That is a level of arrogance
And
of power.
for no response, no statement, nothing. If you've seen something from the presidency, please correct me. Have you? On this matter?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And for that profound silence on the matter, as though nothing had happened. For crying out loud, Erastus is a former journalist of the year. Just this year, he won the environmental journalist.
He
for
could
his
have won
activism.
again as the journalist of the year.
He could have, again.
Yeah.
And so in the end, sometimes you understand when people say, you know, this country, in its current state, with its current, misleadership, if you like, it's not worth
Dying for.
doing anything for. Because in the end,
That's what I was saying. That's the level of arrogance of power. That is where we have gotten to. I mean, as you're saying, no statement has come out. Probably they would say that he is still investigating to know whether or not.
I'm not talking about, yes, the police is a part of
But-
the executive arm of government. But I'm saying if someone says something like this, and you see, if you are concerned about Ghana's ratings
That
in
is where
Reporters Without Borders,
that is
are you
where
telling me
that is
you wouldn't
where
come out and say
that is where I
something
am
on this?
coming to. But for the image of the country, for the image of our democracy, all right, but for the image of where we are in Africa, I think that immediately something should have been said. A statement, at least, of denial.
Yeah.
All right?
Or dissociation.
Or disassociation should have been issued to this effect.
We don't stand
But-
for this. That person who
You know-
spoke, whatever.
Yeah,
but
sure.
you just stay mute.
It boils down to leadership, as you had stated. I believe that leadership should be in charge. We should know who is in charge and should know who should be held responsible for some of these actions. The Galamsey issue is not an ordinary issue. We are waging war against Galamsey. And anybody who raises his voice or puts up an action against Galamsey is a target. Simplicity.
I have been targeted.
And
I
so,
know.
such persons who have decided to take up the fight of Galamsey to the dean of the Galamseyers should be protected.
He needs the
These
tightest
persons need
protective
the
cover.
tightest
Tightest protective cover.
See, people are going to lose money as against protecting the dignity, the sanctity, and our natural resources and life of our future. And I use every word is pregnant with meaning. What they are doing is destroying our lives. Now, you would wake up in 10 years, 20 years to come, and all the children within these Galamsey communities would have one health issue or the other.
Now even teachers are getting affected.
No, of course, it will get to a point.
In those
If you would
communities.
post me
Endemic.
as a medical doctor or as a nurse or as a teacher to these communities, I wouldn't go. You pay me 10,000 cedis a month, presumably, and I would have to
Valid.
use 80,
No, it's nothing in that region, but
Yeah,
he's using
yeah.
a hypothetical.
Okay.
and I would have to use 8,000 of this amount to buy water, all right, to change my wardrobe every month because this water they use to wash their clothes destroy these clothes within a matter of time. So at the end of the month, I would have to go to the shop to get clothes. I have to go to the shop to buy food. I have to go to the shop to buy water. Everything I would have to buy out. You cannot even use the water in these communities to bath. And there are some of the communities that are very close by to Accra. Recently, I think around the Wager, you showed a footage of a teacher very close to Wager, and it's as if it's a joke. But this is not. And so these persons who have put up themselves to wage a war against these galamseyers are targets, and I think they need some level of protection. But having said that, the other aspect I would also want to look at, I mean, we would go into it, has to do with the level of road accidents that we are actually having. The numbers are indeed increasing.
Frightening.
It's frightening, Ben. It's so frightening. And I think that the road safety people and the Ghana Police Service and the fire services should be up and doing.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Let's quickly get into the newspapers now, make the most of the time we have. I'll start with you, Afil Boni. Let's look at your papers.
Ghanaian publisher and the lead story is Akufo-Addo to commission largest northern gold mine in November, and they are quoting the Lands Minister Abu Jinapo. Senate will work to strengthen the scheme further, attributed to Director General Kofi Bosumpim Safumafo. DDEP saved Ghana about $12 billion, according to the finance minister, and Paramount Chief of Aveno applauds MPP. That's the Ghanaian publisher. The Daily Searchlight votes, I know this will please my brother, votes for Alan to end leadership crisis in Ghana, according to Boniface. Baka Vomawo faces new charge, 4 others discharged. Qatar chiefs express confidence in Baumia's bold policies for Ghana. And Nestle Roach Cancer Care Program launched in Accra. That is the Searchlight.
Any bits you'd like to look at very quickly? Any particular one or two? If you know the stories, you also have to get into it.
It's reassuring that Senate is assuring pensioners that the scheme will survive all the turbulences and all the pestilences predicted. According to experts, the whole scheme will collapse in some years to come, the next 10 years or so. But Senate is hopeful that the scheme will outlast the time frame predicted for its collapse. And organized labor, if they are still organized, should keep their eyes on what is happening in Senate to ensure that workers' money is used for the purpose for which they are deducted. It's good news that a new mining firm is on board, and it will start producing gold in November. We are the highest producer of gold, but the flip side is also frightening. The threat of ecocide, the unbridled environmental plunder, and wanton destruction of our water bodies, and given the fact that political will to halt the self-destruction is so conspicuous by its absence. And we're expecting organized labor to shake the system, to prompt officialdom to act in in response to the magnitude of the threat which still assassination. But unfortunately, they have chickened out, and their front is divided. So let's wish and pray that they will come back and re-strategize and see how best to confront this issue, which threatens to sentence all Ghanaians to premature death.
Thank you for those. Would you like to get into one of your papers?
Yes, I just want to have a bite
Right.
on the issue of SNIT. And I think that, as he's mentioned, labor unions should have their eyes opened.
Who says their eyes are closed?
Or
Some say their eyes are very open, very open to opportunity.
If you did follow the hotel saga,
yeah.
you will notice that at a point they did slumber. All right, and mostly when you are actively working, okay, you might not think about tomorrow when you are home and ideal because of what comes to you. But then if you are not retiring on your salary, and you would have to take the 1/3 at the end of the month, and you have other responsibilities after the age of 60, you would understand the need why SNIT ought to be able to have a very good investment engineering strategy to be able to hold on and give you some money as you are home. If you go to some of these communities where most retirees are, the conditions in which they find themselves, and I think that SNIT ought to be able to do better. Even with this housing deficit that we have, you will notice that what kills us faster when we are on retirement has to do with the amount of money we pay as rent.
Right.
All right, so SNIT should be looking at that and other investment opportunities that could grow the organization. Now, I also want to touch on the mining industry. I believe that having these large-scale mining companies come to Ghana to operate, it's very important because they come in with technology that would at least preserve our natural state. But then we should also be looking at the local content. How much local content do we have in? And are we able to also discuss further to be able to at least engineer properly that our the royalties and other benefits that are supposed to come to government and the communities that these mining companies find themselves indeed go. All right. Most of these mining companies do not perform so well when it comes to corporate social responsibilities. You will notice that they get so much from these communities, but give very little back to these communities. Most of these large companies, when you go to,
they give chicken change out, and they claim they are doing something.
See, to me, if you are not even giving the fiscal cash to government because of how government operates, I think that the company should be able to take these projects by themselves. The roads in these communities are so poor and so bad. The housing in these communities are so bad. You will notice that they have very poor infrastructure. You go to some of these communities and you'll be surprised that even internet accessibility is a problem. Meanwhile, you go into the mining companies where they operate and where they live, and everything is so much very well. And 2 steps away from their wall, everything is so bad.
Right.
So we need to be able to take that up as it is. Right. All right, so I have daily guide.
So you have to
I forgot.
try and speed up.
Alan.
Yes, yes.
Didn't you are reacting
didn't
so
you
much.
see that?
You need to get into your paper.
But did you see that?
So very quickly,
vote for Alan
on that point.
to end leadership crisis in Ghana. Then I think that some of these headlines, when they come, most of you who have studied and have actually followed politics for a very long time in our country have all come to a conclusion that the problems we find in Ghana today is leadership. And Alan Tremantin has proven beyond reasonable doubt that he is able to manage the little corner he was given, and for that matter, would be able to handle the country when given.
Let me just, I don't want to say correct, but Ghana's problem doesn't just have to do with leadership. It has to do with followership as well.
No.
Because
Leadership and followership will go together. Yeah?
because you have people following misleaders, either for their stomachs or because they are oblivious. Well, they choose to be oblivious to the happenings in the system. I go back to those people who vote a certain way,
Yes.
regardless of what is happening. No matter what, they see nothing. All they see is me, I am NPP. Me, I am NDC.
Yeah.
Or for some other party. So it's not just about leadership. If you look at, I always go back to Lee Kuan Yew and the others, they had to create a mindset and the people had to go along. If the people did not go along, they would still be where they were. So let's not always say that it is a major leadership matter, but if the people themselves,
So
there's no paradigm shift, nothing happens.
The leadership has demonstrated. When the leadership has demonstrated a high level of integrity and political will.
That I agree
indeed,
with. I agree with that.
push an agenda, it will be done. Now, I'll give you an example. This is not so good for my own image. You know, the last 2 times I came, you were like, hey, why you late? You said it here. That was leadership because you are the host. I delayed your show. Now you told me point blank the next time I'm late, the show would go on without me. Today I was early. And you said you buy me tea. And of course. So that is leadership. When you have been able to demonstrate a high level of integrity. And I tell you, Alan has been minister in Kufuor's era. Alan has been minister in Akufo-Addo's era. Alan has held positions in AU and in UN. And till today, nobody is able to point one single dent of corruption or incompetence to his personality. Anytime the name of Alan is mentioned, we are talking about competence, we are talking about seriousness, we are talking about the vision. And that's just
personality.
And personality.
And the great transformation of
And the great transformation.
Okay, so you
All right, so
let's get into
Daily
it.
Guide says that this one I didn't want to do this. Kasoa teen killer jailed for life.
Yeah.
And this one is very interesting. I'm interested in the next one I'm going to read. It says police grab Mamu big gun suspect. In this, and the other one says Cozy empowers 150 Adenta youth. That's
My constituency politics.
That's your constituency.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing well. She's a fine brain. And 4 more protesters freed. And I think I saw one other one that I wanted to mention here. Oh, where is it? Okay, so suicide no longer criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something that is
That's good news, yeah.
that is so much of a good news.
Right,
I don't know.
absolutely, yeah.
Because people who actually attempt suicide
Yeah, who are driven to the point of taking their own
are
life. Yeah.
persons who have
Well, we should put it in proper context. If the person has committed suicide, there is no, the person is gone. Attempted suicide. So the attempt at
Yes.
taking your life is no longer. That
Yes,
means
I mean, of course, they attempted suicide. Yeah, I get you now. So, yes, because these are persons who are going through a lot in life. Frustration, stress, emotional trauma. And when the person has attempted to take his or her own life, and you have the opportunity to save that person, and then you take the
Not
person,
compound the person.
rehabilitate.
I mean, and you know, we have proposed in our great transformational plan that we would be bringing into all district and hospitals and regional hospitals the mental health clinical activities. Of course, we ought to be able to have that running in all hospitals.
I mean, mental health, we as a country, we have failed woefully in
Yes, we
dealing
have.
with mental health issues, because if you go to many places, sometimes there are times where I don't want to mention, but you go to a certain place, you look at somebody, no one seems to notice, but you talk to the person, and the person asks you, how did you know? people are going through a whole lot. Sometimes it just takes observing someone for a little bit of time and you realize something is
wrong.
And I believe there are
is
so
wrong
many of
with-
such anachronistic laws on our statute books.
Of course.
Yeah.
It is time to feed them out.
And by the way, when I say something is wrong, I'm not saying Nipana Boda. No, that's not
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you don't hear sometimes. But you can tell something is eating
Yes.
sure.
this person up, or the person is not in his element, in his best state. And that's the thing. We want to keep people, whether at work or wherever they are studying, at a certain point of equilibrium, right? So that there's mental balance, health balance. But
Yes,
we take these things for
granted.
And there are high stress jobs like ours that require that you else.
No, you have to be there every moment. Your mind, your brain is working.
Exactly.
You know, and the money is not coming.
This table you are shaking, I'm not going to follow you.
You know,
But in some instances, some journalists, swim in wealth. Some ride swanky cars.
lifestyle audit.
Some live in palatial homes.
Yeah, lifestyle
And,
audit.
You're right.
Yes.
Lifestyle
You're
audit. Lifestyle audit. I
mean,
mean, we'll be bringing that on.
These things ought to be done generally. Because in other jurisdictions, if all of a sudden you are driving a certain type of car, before you know
You'll be
it,
questioned.
the tax agencies,
No, you'll be questioned.
the IRS and others are at your doorstep. How did you acquire this and where? And here you can,
But journalists
you can move
in
from
general
zero to hero
need-
without.
Need to be compensated adequately.
I agree with you.
Of course. When we,
agree.
when
Because
we,
of endless working hours.
But
And
let's
before we go into those stories, linked to the 10-year-old who was, I believe,
Yes.
killed and the sentencing, this one, maybe
Man
you might want to do
kills-
it briefly.
stepdaughter in Bia district. And I'll just take the first two paragraphs. A 44-year-old man whose name was given as Kwame Dagati has allegedly killed his 20-year-old stepdaughter, Mary. Stepfather purportedly committed the alleged crime last Tuesday in his farm at Sefi, Kankankrum, near Yamitwa, in the Bia West district of the Western North region. This is sad. And I've just seen the lady's photo. So sad.
So interestingly, let me just, so what, a resident, Isaac
A
Oduro-
resident, Isaac Oduro, explained that the mother of the deceased asked her daughter to send food to her stepfather at the farm. He said after several hours, the daughter did not return, and when the stepfather was called, he indicated that he had given the daughter some work to do at the farm. However, the way and manner Kwame Dagati answered the question made the woman become suspicious. The woman then asked her son to go to the farm to confirm whether her sister had indeed been given a job to do on the farm, as he added. The resident Isaac Oduro narrated that upon reaching the farm, the deceased brother saw some blood around and later saw his sister killed and covered with leaves at the corner of the farm.
Okay,
But Kwame
I think-
Dagati was not around. He's gone.
we can leave it there. But this is
This is sad.
for a human being to do that. Very quickly on this, so I can come in briefly.
Yes.
and we'll be
So
continuing.
the one I would want to add to the mental health is in the news center. The herbal medicine sector targets $5 billion revenue to take over cocoa. And I would want to add my own words and to take over Galamsey. And
Professor Duncan's
Professor
revolution.
Duncan's revolution. And I think when Alan was trade minister, he had an encounter with Professor Duncan. Alan had always been interested in this herbal
Prof
medicine.
needs all the push
And
to
so,
actualize his vision. Yeah.
After several encounters and discussions with them, when we were discussing the aspect of ministerial sectors that ought to be given a certain level of concentration, Alan suggested that there should be a Minister of State for traditional medicine and mental health, so that we would have a conscious and political will to deal with the matter. There is so much money in herbal medicine.
Yeah.
But when there is not that conscious effort,
and regulation.
Yeah.
yes, of course,
There's
when
so
there
much
is a
abuse in that
ministerial sector in charge, and we have a whole structure that is supposed to be in charge of herbal medicine, there will be enough policy, regulatory policies that can be drafted, bringing on board all of these small herbal medicine. Of course, if you go to KNUST, now they're studying traditional medicine. But how are we synchronizing it into our orthodox system? You understand? And there's so much money in this sector that is going waste. And not only the money, but when we are able to push it, we would also be preserving these forest areas for God, man, and country.
Yeah.
Well, indeed.
Also be saving money from importation of...
Importation.
Yeah.
Importations. Because, you see, and we will be exporting, because all of these orthodox medicines are made partly from the herbs, the leaves, the roots, and all of these plants that we have in our system. And I think that we have to be able to look at it.
All right.
Then the police grabbing the gun,
very quickly.
the gun in the Mambobi issue is excellent. We are in the political season, and we ought to be careful. And the police would have to be up and doing.
All right.
It shouldn't have happened anyway. But this political violence then ought to be dealt with.
The Daily Graphic newspaper prioritized development plan over manifestos. Economists to parties. Ayoko Botre vies for Commonwealth Secretary General position tomorrow. Test before treating malaria. Professor Ansa Kram advises public. Of course, if you are not testing and you are just taking medication, you could harm yourself, and that's the bottom line there. Yoko boss, others honored for distinguished service. And Kasoa ritual murder, 18-year-old jailed for life. And COP Mameya Tiwa Adodankwa, of course. Yoko boss, others honored for distinguished service. Let me just take you briefly. I have very limited time. And an expert in malaria research, Professor Kwejo Ansa Kram, has advised people to test for malaria before treatment. He said that although the current national policy on malaria indicated that the person should test before treatment, some people were treating the disease without testing. He describes such a practice as not good for the nation's malaria eradication effort. And the expert, who is a former director of the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, gave the advice at the 4th lecture of MMIMR, which forms part of the Institute's 45th anniversary celebrations. And he says, in fact, it's test, treat, and track. So after treatment, we also check whether we have been able to clear the parasite. And if the parasite is not gone, why is it not gone? Of course, there are also the other health implications I spoke of. But two economists have called for the prioritization of a national development plan over political party manifestos, indicating that this is the right path to a coordinated development. They consequently bemoaned the increasing resort to political party manifestos as the blueprint for governing the country. A professor of economics, Professor Peter Quartey, and an economics researcher, Dr. Said Boache, agreed that the lack of a long-term development plan to guide national development via the political parties' policies and programs is a drawback. And on the back page, SDA Church embarks on 200-bed hospital project at Ho Hopedo, and women advised to prioritize their health to safeguard their lives and businesses. I'll wrap with this story. Women, particularly traders, have been advised to prioritize their health to ensure they are healthy to grow their businesses. Also, regardless of their busy schedule, they should pay attention to their family, and it was important for them to undergo regular screenings and self-examination of their breasts to maintain their health and also get the required help. It's a story we did this morning as well. Any quick reflections on any of these stories? There's one last thing I want to bring up for us to talk about, but any quick reactions? 30 seconds, 40 seconds.
30 seconds.
Okay. Kasoa Meda trial and the lessons they offer to organize, I believe, especially as media practitioners, we ought to drink a fountain of lessons from what happened and weigh the implications of what to put out there.
Right.
The hypodermic theory or magic bullet theory of the press indicates that what you put out there has direct, immediate, and long-term effects on media consumers. Okay. So we should be very careful what to put out there.
Briefly.
Yeah, so I will touch on the prioritized development plan over manifestos. I think Prof. Peter and Dr. Said couldn't have put it any better. And this is something that Alan Tremontin saw way back. And
I like the Alan angle.
and said that, listen,
10
we
seconds.
have been using manifestos for the past 32 years and it doesn't take Ghana anywhere. That was why he brought the great transformational plan. And as you know, a plan would always come with implementation strategies. These manifestos do not have implementation strategies.
Right.
And it affects.
And that's why promises are made without the
Without
other bits that will actualize them. And then people come, they are not able to do them.
But when it's a plan,
Ghanaians get
it
disappointed.
has all of it.
I just want us to take a quick swipe at this before I salute Siru for my shirt one more time. I saw this making the trend yesterday. I was hoping it was not true, but the person's phone number is here actually. And my good friend Ben Doche Malo also shared it. It says, 1-bedroom apartment for rent, no agent. If you are an ever, please don't call. And the person's number is there. I hear the person has got a number of calls from some people and messages. But you see, it appears some people are still living in the Stone Age under some rocks because ethnocentrism, tribalism is. I just wanted your quick take on that. 20 seconds.
When I saw
this and I was
when I saw it, I laughed because I have actually witnessed that one which had to do with singles. You know, when we were in school, the woman who actually owned the place did not want to give it to a student, a female student, or a single woman, and because
that too is there.
She said she was a married woman and had a husband in the house, you know. But I mean, this, as you said, Stone Age. We've gone way beyond that. We now have, because of the boarding house system that was introduced, we have friends who are Evers. I schooled in the north. I did, you know, Tamasco. You know, we're those that actually kicked Adisadel College out.
Hey.
Yeah. Tamale Secondary School. Have you been there before?
The Lions of Tamale.
The Lions of Tamale.
This indicates that ethnocentrism is still a problem, and we need to confront this issue. I believe it's a process and not a destination. So we ought to be conscious of the fact that, you know, we all come from different areas, but the common thread that runs through us is that we are all Ghanaians.
Right.
We should pull in one direction.
Time to go. Well, just let me salute one more time Mudasiru of Siru Africa for this lovely outfit. Where you can call him on 0557 029
you know the
138. 0557 029 138. Nana Yamsapa is trying to distract me. And on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Siru Africa. That is SIRU-Africa.
And Ben,
Nana, what were you saying?
But it looks like a cocoa bean. Like, you know, the design is beautiful.
Thank you.
And then as he's always dressing you up, he should know that we say good morning to him.
Indeed.
And Ben, today is my grandson's
He would
birthday.
understand.
Papa Phil money in Canada, Toronto.
Okay.
So happy birthday, Papa Phil, and the daddy gave it, and the mother in Shira.
Yeah, but just a quick one. We've started Alan is starting the caravan tour in Bunu East region today. And so we are done with Ashanti region. We are hitting Bunu.
Ashanti was fantastic.
Excellent. We painted the entire of Ashanti region yellow on Saturday. And
anyway, gentlemen,
the God of Alan is speaking.
Ayo. Time now to go. Thank you very much for staying with us. But you want to stay for sports up next.